Quick run through of some of the components of the Zamboni. So your battery is what allows the starter to turn over, and the starter is what turns the engine over and starts the machine running. The battery gets its charge from the alternator, so the alternator does not recharge a dead battery. It is only capable of maintaining charge on an existing battery. This here is your fluid pump. So this pumps the rad coolant through, cools your engine off. Down here, this is what drives the alternator and the coolant pump. This is your overflow reservoir for the rad. This is the rad. This is where the coolant that is getting pumped through with the coolant pump gets cooled off. So the fan that you'll see around the back side of here runs air through the coil. The coil cools off the rad fluid. This right here, this is where your fuses are kept. On the top, it shows all the different fuses, how many amps they are, and what they're for. Those fuses are one of the first places to check if you're having any kind of issues with the machine, because you know, if you've got a blown fuse, then whatever's blown the fuse is not working. Occasionally we've had cracked fuses which don't look blown, but still cause intermittent issues. Here, these are control relays to run the fan high and low. You've got your engine block in the center where you check the oil. That's where the pistons are. This is all your hydraulic drives. It's a hydrostatic machine, so this is basically where all your hydraulic power is coming from. This is good to know. So this right here, this nut is one that you have to crack. If you feel right here, there's a little hole in the side of that nut, and if you ever need to tow the machine off the ice, you need to take this tool off that's hanging here by these zip ties, and you need to insert it in there, and you need to open that up, and that'll allow the hydraulic fluid to flow freely in there, and then that way it makes it possible to pull the machine off the ice. Because right now, this thing's not in park or anything, because with it being a hydrostatic machine, it's not in park. You push on it, it barely rolls. You can get it to roll. If you leave it parked on a hill, it will slowly run down the hill. But if you need to pull it off the ice, you want to open that up so that the hydraulic fluid can flow, and then your wheels will turn a lot easier. What else is there that's good to mention? This here, this EQO, that's really what this is like your computer board for your Zamboni. So this has got like a little circuit board in here, and this is the wiring harness that has all of the electrical connections running through it. So if I pop this off, a little hard to get to. So if I take this off, you see that? So all of the wires that run into the computer that runs the machine run through there. So that's what is responsible for generating your error codes on the Zamboni. So if you come up and look at your dash lights, so you know when you see this saying service engine soon, this light, if it's ever flashing something that looks like Morse code, that's an error code. So if it's flashing you know, on and off, and it's something unusual looking, that's error codes being generated by that computer, and it's letting you know where to search for the issue. And you have to reference the Zamboni manual, but in the manual it'll tell you what the flashing codes here correspond to. We also have a cable and a laptop that we need to load the software onto, but we've got the ability to plug in to the Zamboni and read additional information from the computer using the software. Something everyone should keep in mind when you're flooding the ice, you should be looking at these gauges periodically. You know, just like when you're driving your car, you want to look at your gauges and pay attention to them. If you see the temperature climbing unusually high, well, that means you're probably going to blow the rad fluid off soon because something's not working. The fans aren't running, the machine's overheating. And that's what was happening when the alternator wasn't working. Because the alternator wasn't working, the voltage in the battery would drop over time, over the course of the flood. So as you'd lose voltage in the battery, well then, computers run off of voltage. So when your voltage drops, so does your clock speed. And you know, the computer that controls everything and tells everything what to do isn't able to function properly if it's not getting the proper amount of voltage coming to it. So at one instance when we were having an issue with the alternator, I had the machine running for a little while, and I went to press this to idle down, and it would not let me idle down, and that's because it wasn't getting the proper signals because it didn't have the proper voltage. So it's, you know, one issue can easily cause other issues. And so since the alternator wasn't working, the battery wasn't keeping its charge, then the fan wasn't running properly, even though, you know, mechanically the engine still ran fine. You still had, you know, hydraulic power. You couldn't, you know, run the fan because you didn't have enough voltage in the battery, and then that's why it would overheat and blow off rad fluid onto the ice. So sometimes when it might look like there's multiple issues, one issue might be causing other issues. So I hope that this video has just given you a little bit better understanding of a few of the critical components in the Zamboni and what to pay attention to and look for. Maybe I'll make some other videos about diagnosing specific issues. Let me know if you have any questions, and I hope this was helpful.